become more passionate about my heritage and where I've come from, especially with the food. I've been learning how to cook Bengali dishes, which is always interesting. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Say a specific dish. You can't just say that you've been learning how to cook and let us take your word for it. Come on.
You know what there is? So there's a lot. I think I would say it's a Bengali type of biryani, which is quite difficult to make. That's what I've been trying to perfect, especially over Ramadan.
Okay. Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. Next person.
I'll go.
Yeah,
okay, go on.
So, yeah, my name's Sheyvonne. I work at a school, girls' school actually, in Southeast London. I teach psychology and geography. An interesting fact about myself, I'm a twin. You know, most people don't know that. So, yeah, quite interesting. And I'm also Jamaican as well.
Awesome. I can see Marcus already. I can see Marcus ready to just take the baton. So Marcus.
Yeah, I'm good. Yes, I'm Marcus. I'm Mr. Benjamin.
Yeah, some students may be joining in. Sorry, guys. So
Mr. Benjamin.
Yeah.
I teach English at a school in Barking. A fact, I'm also a writer. I like to write. Nothing. I mean, English teacher, writing.
Yeah, come on, Marcus. You know, something else a bit more unique. Like English teachers' writing is not that much.
Okay, all right. I do judo.
Oh, yeah? Come on, Can we give him a round of applause for that? That's a bit more unique. Okay, and then we have Jon. Last but not least, Jon.
Yep, so I'm Jon, or Mr. Lupton. So I teach history at the Forest Academy in East London. Interesting facts. I guess I'm a long-suffering Aston Villa fan, which is a strange thing about me. I don't know why I bother to support them, but there we go. So happy that they're playing again. So they probably will still get relegated though, won't they? Let's be honest. But there we go. That's me.
Awesome, guys. For those that have just tuned in and those that have just signing in, as you know, this is the Identity Program, and it is a online panel discussion based around what identity means to you. And we have amazing guests and amazing speakers on today who are going to tell us a little bit about what identity means to them. For those that don't know us, we are Life Creations, and we have been delivering the Identity Program in secondary schools remotely during this COVID time. Before that, we were actually delivering the Identity Program in secondary schools. So based around what are the skills, what are your gifts, what is your calling, what is it that you've been put on this earth to do, and how can you fulfill that purpose with strategies and practical tips that we put in place as Life Creation. So in order to just consistently go on about the campaign, rather than during this time we just think, oh, we're not going to push the Identity Program or not going to talk about it, I thought it would be good to hear from educators, from people that are passionate about young people, why a program based around identity will be important. Because there's many things out there, like, oh, we're out here to empower young people, we're out here to do this. But we want to know from yourself as well, why you think identity is an important thing, especially for young people. So those that are tuning in, you can also, there's a Q&A section, and there's also a chance for you to ask the panelists any questions that you want. Ask me any questions and throw the questions out there, and we will be able to answer that for you effectively. Everybody looks so serious when I'm speaking. Guys, lighten up, man. But it was quite a strong thing I'm saying, but it is based around identity, and identity is very, very important. And we would like to know your thoughts, those that are tuned in and those that are with us today. So starting with, who am I going to start with? Marcus, because you just put your shoulders back. Before we get into what identity means to you and why is it important for young people, what have you discovered during this time of COVID around identity?
No, it's a big one. I think, without going into, I mean, I'm not one to be, political, but I think it's definitely an interesting time because you learn, well, first of all, I think in terms of, is it patience, resilience, they seem quite generic, but also I think for me, I'm now with my family, and that's another thing. Again, cross each other's lives so quickly. And I think this is the first time in perhaps 6 years that we've all had to just coexist and get used to each other's routines. So you learn a lot about, again, as Mr. Uddin said, about culture, about acceptance, but also, again, I feel like my siblings are in a very different place in their lives now, and I've had to almost relearn about their personalities because I've been to school or university, and now they're all back, and to see them. So for me, it's almost like, and again, I suppose I'm in a new part in my life now as well. So you learn about who you are both holistically, emotionally, and just, again, I think being a teacher as well, you don't have much time to think about yourself.
Yeah.
You don't. You're constantly thinking about the next assessment or the next next scheme of work or the next text that you're teaching, whatever it is. And I think I've made lots of vague statements, but I think just generally speaking, I've just learned to really calm down. To really take the time to just think, whether it's about myself, about the people around me, about what I want for myself. I think that's probably the biggest thing I've learned. And it's also okay to not do any work, because actually I can be productive in 2 days and take 3 days to reflect, to be inspired, to be motivated. So those things, as a whole, I kind of amalgamated lots of different things there, but generally speaking, I think that's the thing I've learned about myself the most. And almost, to forgive myself, man, to give myself time to just enjoy everything. I don't know if that made any sense.
No, it did make sense. And I like the bit that you spoke about, that it gave you time this has given you time to just think and to calm down, and because everything is closed right now, there's no distractions, we're at our totality of focus if we wish to be, and it's a time really to get to know yourself even a bit more, get to know those around you a bit more. So what you've said does make complete sense. Awesome. Moving on to Sheyvonne, what have you learned about identity or learned about yourself during this COVID time?
Yeah, I mean, definitely during this period, it's been an opportunity to learn about what I like, what I don't, what I dislike as well. I've picked up a few hobbies as well at this time, because there's nothing much to really do apart from work. So it's been a great opportunity, to get back involved in things that I wasn't doing before, to be around friends and family as well. Social distancing though, but yeah.
Awesome. That's good. And I like a lot of things that was similar between what you and Marcus have both said is about family. So it sounds like as teachers, we were very deep in our work and we were neglecting our families. That's what we made it sound like. But it's quite interesting actually, because you now have more time on your hands for developing relationships and developing friendships and getting to know people again that were very close within your proximity. So that's interesting. Yeah. And your new hobbies, you said, do you want to share one with us?
I've got into cooking. So
okay, can you tell us a dish?
Yeah, to be fair, I wasn't cooking that much before all of this. Okay. So like I said, I've really fell in love with cooking. So, I like cooking curry chicken, brown stew chicken, trying to get into
I know it'll be good.
Yes, definitely. So yeah, definitely picking up new hobbies and stuff, which is good. I do feel like during this period, it's an opportunity, like I said, to just get to know yourself all over again a little bit, because I feel like, especially in teaching, you can definitely become so engrossed in your work that you kind of forget about yourself. So I think
wow. That is, and I see a few people, I see Rahat nodding, I see Jon nodding like, yeah, I got, that we got engrossed and we need to, so Rahat, take it away. What have you learned about yourself during this time, or learn about identity during this time?
You know what, I think thinking about this right now and speaking to you guys, I think we're all on the kind of on the same boat. But I think for me, more so was the month of Ramadan just went by. And every year Ramadan comes and Ramadan goes, and it's I know everyone thinks, oh yeah, you know what, it's just not the food, not the drinking water, which is the difficult part. But I think for me, a struggle was reconnecting with my faith and
Wow.
understanding what the beauty of Ramadan is. And I feel like I've been able to do that more so during this time rather than any other year. Staying at home, being with family, like just in general. I think I kind of we have like religious obligations, and I do them just for the sake of it. Or in the past, I think I just used to just do it for like just it was just a kind of a routine, and it just got into like I'm doing it. Yeah, that's it. Pray 5 times a day. That's it, and that was it. But I started understanding some of the text and understanding what I say in Arabic, and it genuinely brought tears to my ears, tears to my eyes, because I understood what I was saying and what I was trying to that connection with God. But I think it's in general. I think everyone has their own connection or has their own faith, and it's really about everyone should take that onus on themselves to just sit down and think. I was watching a video I think it was yesterday, and just before we do anything, I think we should just before we do it, everyone take a moment just to think about what they're doing or what they're doing, and it just changes everything. Your perception of it, and it may be just spending money, or even if it's like spending £5 on whatever. Just think about it before you do it, and because in the past I think I would just, you know what, I'm at the shop, I'd spend that money, or I'm going to somewhere, I'll do it. But right, if you think about it and you put some thought into the decisions that you're making, you make better decisions, and I think that's what I've started to do now, and hopefully I can do that once we go back to school, and so I am more productive, just in general. And I'm sure you know, Yvonne, I'm quite busy.
Yeah.
In general, one of the busiest teachers there
ever in the world.
Yeah, but so I want to sit down and think before I make a decision, and rather than just like a gun, just like a bullet, just go for it. Yeah, so I think just calm down a little bit. It's been my has been my motto for this quarantine period.
Awesome, and it's good to hear about your faith and the fact that when you said that you were normally doing the same things religiously and not reading into it, or not, opening your spirit towards it and taking it as seriously. But now there's no more distractions around. You have that time to really tap in and develop that faith. And you even sound different, Rahat. You sound more strategic, more just, let's take things a step at a time. Because obviously as being teachers, we are fast-paced people, and it's just really first lesson, second lesson, third lesson, fourth lesson. There's no time to think, to breathe, to even sometimes you need to go to the toilet, and you can't even sometimes go to the toilet because the kids are there waiting for you. So I guess this has really allowed everybody to maybe prioritize as well and realize what is important. So that's great to hear from you, Rahat. That's amazing. And Jon, during this time, what have you learned about identity?
Well, I swear, I'm going to say pretty much the same thing as these guys. But
no, you're not allowed to. You're not that student. Don't be that student.
In a different way, Yvonne. And I think everyone's kind of touched on the idea of mindfulness. And I think that is when you are forced to do nothing. I think that is kind of what I have really tried to do a bit more, which has been really good. And I suppose as well, because you can get really caught up in what other people are doing as well. And I think that there is a lot of people who are really quite confident right now and quite happy about where they are. But also, I think like what Marcus said, you've got to be okay with yourself to, maybe if you are feeling a bit down, because I'm sure we've all had those periods in the past 8 weeks where we just feel a bit amiss. And I think you do have to learn to just sit there and have that resilience to think it's actually all right to feel like that. Because you are stripped away from your friends and your family. I'm sure so many people watching us here are just thinking like, when can we get back to school and see our mates, or when can we go and see everyone? And I think you have to kind of just be kind to yourself, really. So that's a big thing that I've sort of learned. And along with that, just like how amazing some of my friends and family are. Like I've got friends who are doctors, and just incredible what they're doing right now, and just awful as well. And when you do speak to them and you realise what they're doing, you just also have to consider how lucky you are in a way, which is difficult to do when you're sat at home and you can't go outside for 6 weeks. But yeah, I think that's kind of the main thing that I've kind of come up with this, realization with in the past sort of few weeks. So it has been quite nice in that sort of way, I suppose, when you can get past the the sort of negative thoughts. You can turn it into something positive, which I think has been quite uplifting. Yeah. So,
wow.
So I've gone a bit deep there, but that's
everybody's quite deep today.
Yeah, I know. I guess but it is. You do have to reflect, don't you? And I think this does, as what everyone said, it is a time for reflection. I think that's a really good thing. I think it's really important that we're talking about identity when we've gone through 8 weeks of being at home, because I think it does help. Also, it can be confusing as well. So
yeah, and there's something you said: be kind to yourself. That's a thing that not everybody can do. What tips would you give for people to be kind to themselves?
Just, like if you're feeling down, if there's things that you just can't do, just give yourself a break for a minute, and just reach out to people. I think I've tried to use social media in a good way, like recently as well, rather than being so focused on what other people are doing. And I've got rid of a lot of stuff that just makes me feel anxious or down.
Okay.
Instagram and things like that, and just filtering my life into something that's maybe a little bit more easy. Surrounding myself with things that are going to make me feel better, I think, is probably the first step to doing that, and just reaching out to people that you care and trust about when you're not feeling too great. I think that's a really important thing to do.
That's interesting. That's very interesting, and that's a good practical tip as well, because you will hear people say be kind to yourself or love yourself, but they sometimes may not give practical tips on how I can love myself more, or how I can develop myself more, get to know myself more, or be kind to myself, like you're saying. Somebody is just messaging now that for me, identity, it is who I am, not just on the physical level, but mentally and spiritually. An alignment of all three is what identity means to me. We've got a poet on our hands at times. So that's quite interesting to hear that as well, in alignment with the mental, spiritual, the physical, all different aspects of that person's life, being able to come to one and then be able to know who they are as an individual. I have a quote here, and it's from a sociologist, Foucault. He says that you cannot actually find out who you are without socializing with other people. So it's quite funny that we're in isolation now, right? We're like, okay, we're in isolation. We are finding out who we are. We're discovering these things about ourselves, which is amazing. And to be honest, I've enjoyed the time of isolation and being able to focus on what I want to focus on. But this sociologist actually states that, you know what? Yes, you may be able to do all these things by yourself, but you can only truly find yourself when you have association and you socialize with other people. That's the only time that you can really find your identity. What's your thoughts on that?
Don't they say that you're an average, sorry, maths teacher, but you're an average of the 10 closest friends, or your 10 people that you keep closest. It's always interesting to see. We're not socializing with that many people, but we're online with them, and we're speaking to them on whatever site it may be. But so the 10 people that you're most close to, or the 10 people that maybe you admire now, you're an average of those 10 people. So it's always interesting to see, like, especially with students, when they meet someone and then they change, and sometimes for the worse. So it will be interesting to see as well when we get back to school, how students are when they've been with their family maybe for so long, and as well, it's just about the content they're watching and what kind of things they're doing. I mean, if you're playing Fortnite for however many hours a day, you're going to become that's going to be your mindset. I have a friend, I think he's been playing for so long, he sees everything now as like game mode, which it's so funny but at the same time quite worrying. But I think everyone needs to, like, you need to do a good amount of everything. It may be that hour of exercise, it may be that the schoolwork that's been set, and I think there is a lot of students on here, but aren't doing the work that we're saying, we were discussing earlier, but it's about that 10 people that you have around you, and your average being as high as possible, and so you like as the best, surrounding yourself with the best of companions, and so you're that best average. So yeah, I mean, everyone needs to. I think you need to remind yourself of that, and think about it before you do anything. And before I think when you're young, you can decide who you're from.
We're still young, Rahat, but I get what you mean.
Like when you're under 18, I think you can decide who your friends are, and then after a while they just start sticking with you. And so yeah, so it's all about making those good friendship circles and surrounding yourself with as much positivity as possible, and that's helped me massively. Even to this day, I mean, some of my friends who are around me, they're pushing me. They're like, yeah, you need to be doing this, you need to be, and in the same way, I mean, Yvonne, me and you have so many conversations about how we can better ourselves. And so if you're around that positivity and that success circle, you're going to be one of those who are reaching for that success as well. So I mean, it is very important.
Excellent. Yeah. And it's funny because oh, sorry, were you going to say something? Was that John saying yeah?
I was just going to make a little comment on that as well. Like, I think it's so true that you do. You know, you do define yourself and you build that identity through your friends. One thing I was going to say, like, I don't know if you ever go out and you look at, especially like, I don't know, when you see like a pair of young people, have you ever noticed that they almost always wear exactly the same outfit, but with slight changes? And it's really interesting. Like, I always see that, and I just think that's just so amazing. Like, you really do you play off of each other as you grow up, and it's so interesting. And yeah, you're right, Rahat. Like, there must be some truth in that. Like, the 10 people you're closest to, there must be.
You're the average of the 10 people that you surround yourself. I find that so interesting because I compare myself with my friends, and there's so many days when I was at uni, and we'd genuinely wear the same clothes. It was so interesting. We wear it at the same time. We'd all have like a shirt, and it was so strange that we would wear it on the same day, and it would be very similar, a similar outfit, going on what you were saying. I mean, yeah, so it is so important that you surround yourself with success. And
just to add to that, my students love this quote as well. I know Mr. Uddin was going for the maths route. I'm going to go for the English, obviously. Show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. And I think with regards to identity at this particular time, I find it fascinating. Not just, I mean, on Twitter you have this whole, oh yeah, I'm going to cut people off kind of thing. But I think for me, I look at it in the alternative point of view, and who has lifted me in these moments. So when I've been isolated, who have I thought about? Who have I missed? Which conversations have I missed having? And I will say that, you know, I've reconnected with my nursery friend, with my primary school friend. And simply because I think we've given each other the time and the space to really allow conversations to become more fruitful and more, I don't know, what's the word? I think we've just allowed them to really thrive under these circumstances. And because we now have the time and we're not going anywhere, I think in terms of, as I say, my own identity, as much as I'm a creature of habit, I can be in my own company for hours and not miss anybody, and I promise you that. I will also say that the conversations I've had with some of my friends has been, I mean, I've learned so much more about them in these 8 weeks, and I may have worked with them for years, or I may have grown up with them. But it's really, really interesting to really use this time to think, damn, man, yeah, my friends are interesting, and they are, and you surround, and because I'm always around them and I do align myself with them, I sometimes forget how much I look up to them, or how much they genuinely teach me about themselves on a daily basis. So again, being able to step back in this time and look at them and think, you're all right. It's been nice. It's been good. It's been really good.
That's good. And I like how you all said your circle and the success, and you know, you're an average of the 10 people you're around. And I've even heard a saying before, if you hang around 10 poor people, that you're going to be the 11th, or if you hang around 5 rich people, you're going to be the 6th, and so on. So association does definitely bring resemblance, whether you believe it or not. You start sounding like people, having the same values as them, morals as well, and you start behaving in specific ways. So it's very important, like you've both said, or 3 of you have said actually, to understand what your circle is and how your circle contributes to your identity. One of the tasks that we do on the identity program for Live Creations is actually based around winning circle. So we actually do a whole presentation and a whole workshop based around how to develop the winning circle, how you know you're in a winning circle, and how to then build a winning circle. Because when you're growing up, like all of you have said, you can be easily influenced by other students or other people or young people. You can see it sometimes even in a classroom. I don't want to say the year group because they might be on, but there was a set of I had in a class, and they were doing well and they were amazing. And then a few other new students came in, about 7 or 8 new students came in, and the demographics of the whole classroom changed. Everybody changed. And then I was thinking to myself, but you used to always want to put your hands up and ask the question. You used to be helping me with the pens and so on, but it was just a shift of dynamics because of maybe dominant personalities were now in the room and other people started behaving in different ways. So it's very important, like both of you have said, to surround yourself with the right people, because that's what is going to be a big contribution to your identity. Why would you say then it's important for young people, Sheyvonne, to be able to know their identity? Why do you think that's important?
Because I believe that there's a lot of messages out there that are telling young people who they should be and what is acceptable as well. And I feel like when it comes to being who you are, that should be celebrated. And the fact that you are different, and the fact that you don't act or behave or look like the person next to you. And I think it's important for someone to be confident in that, especially where in society today, if you don't look like a particular person, or if you are not displaying certain characteristics or behaviors that would be acceptable within society, you're kind of looked at as, well, you're not good enough. So I think it's really important for you to be confident in the person that you are. And I find that, especially, when you're teaching, what you do tend to find is that, especially with some of my students, you've got the louder ones and you've got the quieter ones. And what you tend to find is always the louder ones that are putting their hands up. And sometimes maybe I might ask a quieter student who is just as intelligent as maybe the louder one. And what you will find is that maybe they may shy away from that. And it's quite interesting because when I get them on a one-to-one basis, they definitely have a very good answer. So I think it's important for young people to just be confident in, their strengths, their weaknesses, and to have a sense of who they are, and to, and not feel like they have to fit in order for them to be accepted.
Awesome. And I like how you said that who we are, should be celebrated. And that can only be celebrated if we know who we are. If we're confident in who we are and we step into a room and we say, this is who we are, this is our identity, these are our morals, these are our values, this is what we believe in, we're quirky, we're funny, whatever characteristic it may be that we are, that we're confident in that. And then every other person or every other thing around has to then submit to that confidence. But if you come in insecure, if I came in and my head is down, and I'm like, Rahat, can you introduce Sheyvonne, can you? And my head is down. You guys will be looking like, who is this clown? You're not going to take me seriously, or you're not going to think that I'm confident in my identity. So you won't be able to embrace who I am because I'm not confident in my identity. But if I'm confident, then it's easier for you to then embrace who I am. And then it's easier for me that if you don't like me, I can just be like, all right, you don't like me.
No, I agree.
How do you feel? How do you think young people can get to that mindset of they don't care about acceptance or fitting in? How do you think? And that is, I know that's such a broad question, and we can be here forever answering that. But maybe one tip as a young person that you would have said to your younger self, that do this in order to not be thinking consistently about I need validation from this, or I need this person to like me. What one tip would you have potentially given yourself?
Yeah, I think it's good for you to just be aware of the fact that, what makes you unique, because I feel that's really important. I feel like that is your selling point. And that's what makes you more, let's say, attractive, let's say, than maybe somebody else. So I feel like at the end of the day, someone is going to like you for you. Do you see what I'm saying? And someone might not. But at the end of the day, if we base our value on what someone is thinking, then you will see that you constantly are going to be changing who you are to fit in with that crowd. So I think it's really important for you to just kind of think about what makes you unique, and stop looking at other people and thinking, oh, you know what, those characteristics is what are attractive characteristics, and instead start to look at the fact that in actual fact I've got some attractive characteristics and I'm going to celebrate those attractive characteristics.
Awesome. That somebody's just signed in now. Sorry. Yeah, I love how you put your hand up. We are back in class, guys. Somebody has just said now, I would have said to my younger self that you can't hide yourself forever. Wow, you can't hide yourself forever. But I understand why you want to stay with the herd, as we all want to belong. That is so strong. Somebody has just said that they would have told their younger self that you can't hide forever. Someone else has said that difficult to say in a soundbite. There are elements which are solid, such as African heritage, my gender. Okay, we was talking about his identity, but there are also elements that are fluid. I'm not the same person I was 20 years ago, but then again, in some ways, I still am. How's that for clarity? They put a smiley face. Okay, awesome. Keep going on with your contribution, guys. We're loving it, and keep letting us know what identity means to you. And we're moving on to what you would have told your younger self. So thank you so much for that, Sheyvonne. Yeah, Marcus, were you going to say something before I interrupted and I said we're in school, guys?
It's all right. It's all right. We can move on. It's all right.
No, don't be one of them people. Come on.
No, because you were in a flow. You're in a flow. I was going to backtrack, but it's all right.
I'm in a flow, but I passed the flow to you now. You can take over the flow. You can take it. Take it.
I was going to touch on a couple of things. I think one of those people, sorry, don't know your name, commented about understanding what is it you get from being in that group. What is it they make you feel that you can't give to yourself? Why do you feel you're part of a collective? Equally, the one thing about being self-aware, I think growth, just being able to forgive yourself and allow yourself to just grow and learn. I think the thing for me was I had to stop asking myself, why me, and just say, you know what, you've worked hard, you deserve it, and just keep pushing for myself. And my favorite poem is Our Deepest Fear by Marianne Williamson. And I've got the quote in my classroom. I like that. And it's all about, not being afraid of, or not hindering your light to make other people, or to stop other people from feeling insecure, because the fact of the matter is, energy is contagious. Yeah. And if you are almost bioluminescent and you radiate warmth and light, people love that. And if you just focus on being the version of yourself that you are proud of, the people that you need around you will swarm. I think it goes back to what everyone else said again about just literally not focus. I mean, it's nice to understand who's out there, because if you're going into a meeting or an interview, you need to understand who you're up against and what you're dealing with. But equally, just being okay with with you. I think that's just a really nice message that I think that some of these people are saying, but I can't see their names.
You can't see. Yeah, sorry. Dan, that was Danny Thompson. Kanu said something as well. There was someone else. Cyril Dazzle Physics. I love the unique names, tapping into your identity there. And a few other names as well.
Yeah, if I could just quickly pick up as well. I think it's really important to know that identity is really fluid as well. I mean, there are those things that you have that are always going to be the way, like for instance, like your ethnicity or where you come from, things like that. And that is a big part about who you define yourself as. But I think as well, it's really important for young people to know that you're going to change so many times over your life as well. And I think you do stick around with your friends so much when you're younger, because they are such a solid base for you to understand yourself from, and your family as well. Yep. But eventually you do grow in confidence and you start to kind of experiment with moving away from that. And that, it takes a long time for you to really feel fully confident with who you are. Like, I'm amazed with 12, 13-year-olds that are confident with who they are, because there's not many, you have to go through a lot of life to be able to be confident with who you are. And I think that if anyone at school is looking at anyone else thinking they're completely confident, I think it's a little bit of an illusion. So you have to just remember that, and again, just be good to yourself as well, and realize that there's going to be so many things that will chop and change in your life that you will eventually, and you'll never understand who you are completely, because it will always change.
That's quite interesting, and that's the debate that goes on. That is identity fixed or is it fluid? Is it something that we just looking at, oh, like you've said, our identity, our ethnicity, pardon me, our race, our gender, where we were born, these are all fixed things. But then there's the fluid side of it that goes to, one second, miss. There's a fluid side of it that then goes to your personality traits, your characteristics, who you are, experiences that can then change who you are. You could have been born somebody that was, when you were very young, you were very loving, and then an experience could have happened to you that you then change, and that you become cold-hearted or so on. So all of those things still make up your identity, not just the fixed side of, oh, you're this color, or you're from this race, and you are this gender, and so forth. Yeah, miss, go on.
No, I was just going to add to that point about identity being fluid. That was definitely something I thought about, you know, when we were first given this topic. You know, the fact that our situations help us to find out more about ourselves.
Yeah.
So even as a teacher, I've learned that I'm more resilient than probably what I thought I was before. And so I feel like I wouldn't necessarily say, especially at the age of, let's say 16 or 17, I wouldn't say to someone, okay, you need to know who you are at this age. I would say instead to my younger self is that to be confident in, say, my likes, my dislikes, and strengths and my weaknesses, if that makes sense, to be just aware of them, you know, and that's why I keep highlighting that point about celebrating, you know, those things that make you unique, because then as you start to celebrate those things, you start to grow in that confidence. And like I said, as you start to go through life, you start to learn more and more about yourself. You know, even at this age, even though I'm more confident in who I am as a person, I'm still learning about myself. You know, I haven't had children yet. When I have children, that's going to be another element. Or when I get married, that's going to be another element. And I'm going to learn more and more about myself. So I wouldn't say that to a younger child, you know, you need to know who you are. I think that's way too much pressure. But I would just say, just learn what you like and don't like. I think that's really important, because especially in this day and age where there's a lot of, you know, not even just in this day and age, but there's peer pressure. There's loads of messages out there telling you who you should be, what you should look like, etc., etc. And you could just fall in line. But I feel it's important for you to just be aware of the fact that in actual fact, I don't like that. You know, why am I actually doing that? I actually don't like that. Do you know what I'm saying? And that can help as well to build that confidence.
That's amazing. And I like how you said the likes, knowing your likes and knowing what you dislike, because I feel as educators, we come into the classroom, and as the education system is, it's the questions are, what do you want to be when you get older? What do you want to do when you're in year 9? What do you want to choose for your subjects? What do you want to do? And they're very intense questions. And I remember when I was in a head of year meeting, and they were saying, oh, you know, they want to start asking the year 11s, who do they want to be in 20 years? What do they want to do after this time? And I said, wow, that these questions are intense, even for me to hear it. I said, why don't we just start with, what are their skills? What are their gifts? What do they like doing?
Exactly.
Yeah, what are you good at? All of these things will then be able to help them know who they actually are and form their identity. Yeah, sorry, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I was just going to add to that point about, that is a very scary question. It's a very intimidating question. I mean, even at the age of 20, how was I? I was about 25 or maybe 24. And, you know, at that point, I still wasn't sure which route I wanted to go down. So I had finished my degree, but at that point, I still wasn't sure which route to go down. And so I think it's quite an intimidating question to pose to a child, you know, oh, what do you want to do, or who do you want to be? Because you're constantly changing. And I think you've got to allow someone to come into their own, rather than kind of putting it on them that, you know, this is what you should do at this age, and this is what you should become at this. And, you know, and I think that's a bit too much pressure, especially on young people. I just think it's good for them to just find out, you know, like I said, what they like, what they don't like, and then kind of go from there.
That's excellent. And a lot of people are responding. I don't know if you guys can see. Can you guys see on your side? Yeah. Somebody said, I would also say to my younger self that I should diversify my social groups, as you may not feel 100% in one. You might feel more accepted in another, and the acceptance in one group will give you strength to another. Someone else said, I will tell my younger self that you are enough, and be mindful of the people that you may seek to gain validation from. Someone said, I agree with John. I was a pretty confident kid and teens, but now in my adulthood, I am a little different, but it all depends on environment. Daiher said that there is no age limit on knowing your identity as a whole. Even some people who are 60 plus are still learning new things about themselves.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's quite interesting to hear.
It's interesting because I think
go on.
the more you know yourself, the more you can learn, and it just increases your capacity to hold knowledge and to so if you know, this is how I learn. So for me, for example, I think I'm more of a, when I listen to something, I learn it quicker than maybe writing it, or than maybe just something being told it. If I listen to something like 2-3 times and that's it, I think that's enough for me, rather than on reading it or reading it or trying to understand something. If I listen to it, it sticks with me, or when someone says something to me, it sticks with me. So if you know yourself and you know how you learn and how you are, then it just, in turn, what it does, it increases that capacity and that storage for harnessing knowledge, which is always important. Especially as educators, we think of, okay, how can we teach a class a certain thing? But if some students, and I see it, especially when students get to year 9, year 10, when they become a little bit more independent, they know that this is how I learn. Where it may be, I don't know, when they have certain words that trigger their mind, or I don't, what else it could be, like maybe some students, like they have to do 20 or 30 maths questions, and as soon as they've done those 30, they know they can do every single question there is that is thrown at them. So I mean, if you know yourself, you can, it just opens doors, I think. And so hence why I think it's more important to know exactly how you like and what you want, and that just that concept of knowing where you want to be, and then it will open doors for you.
Awesome. And I like how you said, knowing who you want to be and knowing who you are is what's going to open doors for you, the confidence in yourself. Because the flip side of that is, if you don't know who you are and you're not confident in who you are, that's where you fall under peer pressure. That's where you will see young people get coerced into gangs. That's where you will see young people suffer from mental health issues. What's your thoughts on things like that? Because one of the key reasons why Life Creations deliver the workshops and the identity program is to eradicate or minimize these sort of problems, the knife crime, the gang culture, the mental health issues, and so forth. But we realize that at the bottom of that, at the foundation of all of these things, at the foundation of, we don't want kids to enter gangs, or we want to stop knife crime, we want to stop all of these things. The foundation of that is because they didn't know who they were, pardon me. English teacher, oh my gosh. So they didn't know who they were. Marcus, forgive me. So they didn't know who they were. So that's why they would enter gangs, or that's why they would knife crime would be higher. That's why there would be mental health issues. What's your thoughts on these things?
Yeah, I mean, there's a famous quote, isn't it? It's if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And I think that something is, again, a sense of self. And I think for me personally, having an understanding of who I am and what I want has allowed me to understand my own purpose, my own almost existence. You know, what am I even doing here? Well, what's the point of everything? And I will always say the most dangerous thing a student can ever say to me, bar a few bad words, is I just don't care. I just don't care. Because if they don't care, it means that in their mind they have nothing to lose. And if they have nothing to lose, there's being here, being in my lesson, there's nothing to gain, and thus they're capable of doing absolutely anything. And I think if you don't have a solid foundation, or even just an idea of, as Sheyvonne was saying, things that interest you, things that engage you, things that make you feel good, as kind of what Jon was saying, then you are genuinely, you are going to stray. That's the only alternative. I think we all need a sense of purpose. That's why people, I mean, that we come into being, as you were saying, through our communication or interaction with other people. But equally, we come into being through our sense of purpose, knowing that you can wake up for a reason. And if you look at people, even people, addicts, you know, it gives them a reason to get up in the morning, you know?
Wow.
So I think as educators, it is really, really important that we encourage that sense of self and ambition and growth. Even if you don't know the end result or the outcome, we must insist that there is a point or a purpose, if that makes some kind of logical sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that ties into another sociologist, Boomel, who talks about the 3 questions that you need to ask. I'm going on like I'm a sociology teacher. I said about 2 sociologists today, but he talks about you need to know who you are, the questions you need to ask yourself that's going to allow you to form your identities. Who am I? Where do I want to be? And how do I want to live? And those are the 3 questions that he states that if you ask yourself these questions, then you will be able to find a sense of identity or find a sense of purpose of who you are. So Jon, thoughts on, just moving on, thoughts on I've said about why do young people go into gangs, and why do young people engage in knife crime or have suffered from mental health issues? And I've said that we've realized that regardless of every single workshop we do, the foundation was always because they were unaware of their identity. So if a person told me, look, join my gang, all we're going to do, and nobody actually says join my gang, right? The way I said it, join my gang. Yeah, where have I been? So, they don't say join my gang. They'll say, oh, can you do this? Can you do something for me? I'll give you a little bit of money to be able to sell these drugs for me. Guys, I don't do this. Yeah, because you might think that I know too much. Yeah. So I'm going to give you a bit of money and sell these drugs for me outside of London. And with that, you prove to yourself that you now belong in this team and you are part of this quote unquote gang, and you have a sense of belonging. So we started to realize that, we first used to deliver workshops around gang culture and knife crime and all the stuff like that. But then the foundation, the key was the kids don't know who they are. So if the young people don't know who they are, it's easy for a gang member to say, come, I'm going to show you who you are, and I'm going to give you an identity. How do you think they can stay away from that, Jon?
Well, I mean, I think like it's massively right, isn't it? And I've just seen a comment from Bayo as well, just saying that people want to feel, if they have nothing, they want to feel like a part of a community. Like, you're so right. That's people get coerced into running drugs because they are approached by someone who seems very friendly and seems to really value them. It's really hard to not do. You do definitely have to know yourself to feel confident enough to move forward in a positive direction in your life. I definitely think that's true. And again, I think all you can do is just everything we've just said here is just you have to keep being curious about the world. You have to be curious about who you are. You have to keep reading. You have to keep watching videos. You have to keep talking to your friends. Like, there's so much, and just as well, like, reach out to people as well. If you don't feel great, that's all you can do, isn't it? And I just think you just need to keep your curiosity in the world to make sure that you are steering past that. And education is a massive part of that. And I think the biggest reason why we do the job we do is to try and give young people the best chance we can. So yeah, that's what I think.
Awesome. And how can we put that? I know it sounds quite intense, but I really feel that during this time, society has learned the power of teachers, that it's not just I'm teaching them in the class. You mentor them, you finding out about their mental health without saying, how is your mental health? You're just asking them, how are you today? If you're quite an engaged teacher, you're going to be finding out, not just find out trigonometry or do this poem, or find out what language devices are on this poem, but you're going to want to know how the individual is. So I think during this time, a lot of people, society has realized that, wow, teachers are not just teachers, they're mentoring, they're maybe being a light, being a hope to this generation as well, without people even knowing. Just reading what Danny has said, I think gang culture is a perfect example of what happens when young people don't have a strong sense of identity. Negative identities fill the vacuum. We all need a sense of belonging. Without guidance, we end up making choices rooted in the negative. That's quite interesting. Okay. What 3 words would you, I know they always say this when we first start in classes, what words would you associate with yourself? What 3 words, thinking about identity, would you associate with yourself, Jon? And then we're going to go around in the circle, guys, like we did at the start.
You start with me. You've chosen the hardest question. You're starting with me.
Yeah, of course.
See, like even us as adults find this so difficult to answer, isn't it? I think I think that I'm quite a positive person, so positive would probably be a good place to start. All right, can we come back?
You know what? I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes to discuss within yourselves, and then I will count down 10, 9, 8.
This is fine. I can do this. All right, this is fine.
Challenge yourself. TS1.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Positive. I think I'm quite a supportive person as well, so I'll probably pick supportive. And I do just like to, I guess, explore as well. I suppose that's quite a big thing. Even if I've got a small interest in something, I do like to try and explore it and see what I can gain from it. So yeah, probably that.
You've travelled quite a lot, actually. Remember when we had that conversation and you were telling me all the places that you've actually been to and you visited? How would you say that makes up part of your identity, being exposed to that?
I mean, so I've lived in Asia for 7 months, and like I had no connection to that part of the world before I went, and now I would say half the things I cook are like authentic Asian meals. So like, this is what I mean about like identity being so fluid, and also about how I think it kind of links to the points that you guys made earlier, where you do have to reach in to reach out, and you need to be able to understand yourself, and then you can then, that gives you the power to really understand different cultures, and then pick and choose from those cultures about what you really want to take for yourself to make you a better person. So probably that. I mean, it's a very simple one, isn't it? Just food, but to me, it's quite a big.
No, it's you are what you eat.
100%.
That's what they say. So it's not a very simple one. You are what you eat. So
it brings so many people together. I think food is very interesting. You notice that your friends are if you ask a lot of your friends, they probably eat the same things that you and if you go out to restaurants, it tends to be very similar to restaurants, and that's how you grow grow in that sense. So I think food, I come from a family where everyone owns restaurants, but I think food brings a lot of people together, and I think that's what a lot of people are missing out on, especially older, like they're missing going out, that scene. And it's not just about the food, but the things that come with the food and the atmosphere that it comes with. And I think I'm a big eater and I love my food, so
like food is like a, you know, central to so many cultures, isn't it? And it does.
I like how you touch your chest there. That was passion there.
Not when you've got a family from East London. The food's rubbish. You got to choose something else.
Okay, so 3 words you said. You said you're positive. I'd agree with that. You're supportive and you explore. Yeah,
I think that's a pretty good 3 words.
Guys, we would also want to say that last bit. Sorry.
So I think that's a pretty good 3 words.
Yeah, I do. I agree. And guys, those that are tuning in, if you can put in 3 words as well, what you potentially would describe yourself as. A few people are signing, and Asazi has said, definitely, I think it's important for youth to know their identity, but to also know how to love their identity and why their specific identity is so powerful and valuable. If not, they may not treat it with value. They need to know the value of the identity, and that diversity is everything in human race. Excellent. These are some strong opinions, guys. Let's keep this going. Unapologetic about who I am, Ruby says. Fantastic. Okay, 3 words. Rahat.
So I've written these down. I think my first, I know, because then I could cross them out as people say them. So I could be a little bit different. The first one I would go, and as a teacher, I think it would be nurturing. I think I like seeing growth. I love it. I love seeing growth in students, in friends, in colleagues. I love seeing them become what they're so passionate about. And I think that takes me on to my second word, which is passionate. I think I love what I do, and it genuinely brings a smile to my face. In the past, I used to work in finance, and waking up in the morning was always a struggle. I felt like every day was a different battle. But now, now it just feels like, wake up and I'm making a massive change. And I think that's what a lot of people should have. It may not be teaching, it may be it could be anything, but changing, for me, I wanted to change. I couldn't, maybe it was too difficult to change the whole world, but I know as a teacher, I'm changing someone's world. And so that when they're thinking about their future, and I can, hopefully I can guide them to that success. And I think Ruby said this, unapologetic. Sorry, I went with ruthless. Sometimes I am, and I think that comes from my business background, where I sometimes don't think about, maybe, I don't know, some people may see it as a negative, but for me, I think it's a positive, because when I want something, I know this is what I want. This is what I need to do to go get that, and this is what I am going to do. So ruthless in that sense, not in the sense that I'm
evil,
rude or evil. Yeah.
no.
But
we know you better than that, Rahat. We know you're not evil. We know. We know it's that you're ruthless, and you're very determined. You're focused. You're target driven. And if you see something and that's what you want to acquire and that's what you want to get, you're going to go for it, and nothing's going to stop you.
Definitely.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us. Do the cat's got the flu, the dog's got the muse, so you will go next, Sheyvonne.
Yeah, so I would probably say thoughtful, a deep person as well. I do tend to unpick the layers, so I'll probably go with that. I would probably say quirky. I know that's how my friends and maybe my partner would describe me as. So yeah, I'll probably say a bit quirky and loving. Yeah.
That's nice. That's nice. I like how you said quirky, loving, and you said thoughtful as well.
Thoughtful, yeah.
Those are 3 strong ones as well. And why do they call you quirky? Why did they start saying you're quirky? What is quirky, guys? What does this mean?
Yeah. Say again for me, Yvonne.
What is quirky? When people say, "Oh, she's a bit quirky," what does that mean?
I guess it's what makes me. It's the way I kind of maybe interact with people, or my personality. I think a little bit. You know, apparently I don't act like everybody else, which is a good thing. But I've got my friend there, Shanola, saying, "Yeah, Shay, definitely
quirky." Yeah.
I'm different from my friends. They know that. Like, and not saying that they are all act the same, but I know that maybe it's the way I perceive things, the way I look at things. I'm just different in that way. And before, especially because I've got a twin, I used to compare myself a lot to my twin, which over time I've realized, you know what, that's what makes me. You know, so like there's things that my sister's involved in, and she's a lot more extroverted than me. And, you know, before I used to compare myself to my twin, but I've definitely become a lot more confident in who I am as an individual and the way I do things. So, yeah.
That's fantastic. And people, I think people assume that, because somebody's a twin, that they're going to be exactly alike. And
they are not alike. We are not alike. And it goes to show, like, it really goes to show, the fact that, you know, we both come from the same parents, that how different 2 people can be. And even with identical twins, I'm a non-identical twin, but even with identical twins, you will find that even though they share more similarities, they're still you can still see the differences between them as well.
Awesome. And here Shanola says it goes back to the point you were saying, Sheyvonne, being quirky makes you unique, and what makes you stand out. And that's all about embracing your identity. Which you then have come into as time has gone on, as duration has gone on, you become more confident in who you are. And when you're confident in who you are, you don't need to compare. The more confident you get, then you start thinking, you know what, I don't want to be like her or him or her.
And exactly. And what you also find is that, like I said before, someone's looking at you going, wow, she's amazing, or he's amazing. And I think we have to kind of think, sometimes you know, you was asking before, what kind of advice would you give to someone to help build their confidence? And I think maybe if you're not confident yet, kind of look at it as someone else is looking at me and kind of thinking, I'm amazing, you know? And then eventually you start to think, well, why am I amazing? You know, what are these qualities that someone might look at and think is amazing? It's usually the things that you take for advantage. It's usually things that you're like, I didn't even realize that was a big deal. But it's the thing that come naturally to you. So you have to really sit down and just reflect, you know, and eventually, you start to build on that, and that confidence will come.
Excellent. That's excellent. And anyone that is listening or anyone that is online, just taking these tips and try and implement them as well. And we will take them in ourselves as well. Even though we're saying them, it doesn't mean that we're not going to be actively doing it ourselves. So, and don't ever think that when somebody's speaking about, oh, this is what they need to do, it doesn't mean that they're not talking to themselves as well. I love how Jon is just entering his house.
I'm sorry, I've got the loudest neighbours, and I tried to sit outside, but
it's okay. They're just being who they are. They're embracing their identity.
That's absolutely fine. They're two like young neighbours that live next to me, and they've just gone in the garden, so I didn't want to distract anyone, so I moved in here. Sorry.
That's fine. They're just embracing who they are as part of their identity. Let's let them embrace who they are, right?
Yeah.
And Marcus, just three words that you will use to describe yourself.
Okay, it's a little hyphenated, but I'd say the first one is probably emotionally intelligent. I think that's something that I've really worked on, especially being a teacher. It's important, especially in situations. One of my favorite novels, there's a quote: "A child needs your love the most when they deserve it the least." And I think something that I've taken into my personal life as well, you know, before a moment of thought can really change the way you respond to a situation. And just trying to understand why people behave the way that they do, rather than say, you know, you've irritated me and respond. I think something I've become a lot better at is simply say, okay, all right, I'll hear you out. And then if we have to go at it, I mean, I'm from East London, so if we have to go at it, we will. But before that, yeah, definitely just thinking more deeply and more widely about why people behave the way that they do. Second one I'd say is inquisitive. You know, I love knowledge, but I've realized, again, being a teacher, that I love it for myself, but I also love to share it. I love exchanging, cultural exchanges, but any kind of, like, all my friends are very uplifting. They're all very, very bright and brilliant. And I love that. And the last one I would say is genuine. You know, despite popular belief, I am a miserable sod quite a lot of the time, but actually,
you know what? Your misery is funny. It's funny. It's not miserable that, oh, I don't want to be around him. It's more funny. It's like, oh, Yvonne, did you see that happen or that? What's this about? It's more funny. It's not, oh my gosh, this person is so miserable.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. But I'm also, you know, I think, and it's how we met as well. I think we were in a massive school in quite a big department, and you sit down with someone, I mean, you can just vibe. The energy is good. And I feel like for me, I'm one of those people where I'm just, I won't say I'm simple, but I'm open. Like, I can talk to anyone. I've got friends in loads of different social groups. I'm just, you know, chill. But I like genuine better. But chill.
Yeah. I like genuine as well, because it's hard to find genuine people in this day and age, and just in life, not even just in this day and age. Just to round up, guys, I'm just going to read a few more of the comments. Maybe some people I've missed out. Most young people most young people just want to be a part of something. A gang can be seen as a family for vulnerable young seeking acceptance. A lot of people speaking about why young people potentially go into gangs and so forth. That's absolutely amazing, guys. Thank you so much for everybody that has tuned in, and thank you so much for the panelists. Can we give Rahat a round of applause? Can we give Yvonne a round of applause? Can we give Jon a round of applause? Can we give Marcus a round of applause? And can we give Yvonne a round of applause? And I'm seeing, no, God, your hand should be up like this. No, but thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for your contributions. Thank you so much for everything that you spoke about identity and giving practical tips. There's a lot of information out there, but all of you have given practical tips on ways that young people can actually discover their identity, and not even just young people, even older people. And like you said, it's a consistent thing that you are developing your identity, finding out who you are, finding out what is it you like, what is it you don't like, and embracing yourself. I've learned a lot today, in all honesty. I know that all of you have learned a lot, and I know that those that have signed in and those that have been typing away have learned a lot as well. This is going to be available for everybody. Is going to be on YouTube, guys. Actually have to find out if that's okay with you guys. Yeah. But I'm going to pull it up. Pull it up on YouTube and put it up on our page and so forth. And those that did miss today, they would be able to watch the whole thing from beginning to end and see all of the gems and the amazing things that every single one of the panelists have included. A lot of people said, thank you so much, a very enlightening discussion. Thank you so much, very interesting. I learned a lot. Thank you guys, thank you. A lot of people are saying thank you, so that's amazing. You can stay tuned with what we do, stay all of their social handles. I'll make sure that's up on the video that I put up, so you can follow them individually. And don't forget also to follow Live Creations, who are delivering the identity program in schools remotely for now because of COVID, but we will be back in schools physically from September, God willing. So you can follow us on Instagram _Live Creations. Everybody's phone should be out, or if you're not following already, or and you can check out the website as well, www.livecreationsltd.com. So thank you so much for joining in the discussion. One last word on identity, and then you can say bye. Just one last word, like be who you are, or whatever, or them nice sayings, and then you can say bye to the 1,000,001 people.
Just keep working hard at it, keep learning more about yourself, and keep exploring the world.
Fantastic. Love that.
I'd say don't be afraid to be you. You know, find the things that make you unique. That's your selling point. And yeah, go with it.
Love it.
Yeah, I agree. Just do you, man. Just literally live.
Just do you.
Live and let live.
Chill.
And I think for me, it will be think about every decision that you make. Just have a second thought. Don't just go like a gun, like I have been in the past.
Awesome. Okay, thank you so much, guys. We're tuning off now. We will catch you next week with another set of panelists online to talk about identity, and we will be able to hear everything from all of you. Goodbye, guys.
See you later.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.